Her friend cornered me. Look man. He smirked. You guys were never really exclusive. I was too shocked to speak. 6 months later, I'm at an exclusive restaurant for my new job's dinner. And our server, her, with that same friend begging another table for a good tip. The shock. I'm sitting here in my apartment and it's never felt so quiet. Or so big. It's been 48 hours and I think the shock is just starting to wear off enough for me to even type this. For the last few weeks, something's been off. You know that feeling. It's not one big thing you can point to. It's 1,000 tiny paper cuts. She'd come home from her minimum wage job. And instead of us talking about our day, she'd just be glued to her phone, angled away from me. Most nights she'd just sink into the couch with a bottle of wine, a vape, and the endless, brain-numbing scroll of TikTok. I tried to help her. You know, she was this trust fund kid who'd blown through her money and was getting evicted. We'd only been dating 3 months. But I couldn't just let her become homeless. So, against my better judgment, I told her she could move in with me. I knew she wasn't exactly marriage material from the start. She told me early on her body count was 27. And yeah, that was a little jarring. But we seemed to click on a level that made me ignore the red flags. I thought maybe I could be a good influence. Help her get motivated. But the motivation never came. It was just this cycle of apathy. And I was footing most of the bill for a life she didn't seem interested in improving. Then, 2 nights ago, it all came to a head. She stumbled in at 2 in the morning. Her story about where she'd been was a mess of contradictions. First she was with one friend, then another, the details changing with every question I asked. That's when my gut, which had been whispering for weeks, just started screaming. I did something I've never, ever done in a relationship. I looked at her and said, "Let me see your phone." The look on her face told me everything before I even saw a single message. My heart was pounding. I felt like a scumbag for even asking. But a bigger part of me knew I had to. What I found just detonated my entire world. It wasn't just one guy. It was 4 different men she'd been with while living under my roof. First, I saw the text from an old FWB specifically told her made me uncomfortable. They were planning to meet up again. My stomach twisted. Then I found the thread with her new landlord. She'd told me she found a new apartment online. A fresh start. But their messages started on Tinder. The entire story was a lie. He wasn't just her landlord. The third was one of her bosses. Confirming a sick suspicion I'd been trying to push out of my head for a month. And the last one was just a random Tinder hookup from the night she came home late. The final, brutal confirmation. I was just a placeholder. A warm body and a roof over her head until her next thing came along. My hands were shaking, holding this little glass screen that had just completely destroyed me. I looked up from the phone, my whole body feeling cold and numb. I didn't even have to raise my voice. "Who are they?" I asked. "Just tell me." She just stared back at me, her eyes wide and blank. She didn't cry. She didn't deny it. Instead, she walked right past me into the kitchen, opened a drawer, and pulled out her weed grinder and a joint paper. My mind couldn't even process what I was seeing. I'm standing here with the wreckage of our relationship in my hands. And her first move is to get high. She sat on the couch, lit the joint, and took a long, deep drag. The smoke filled the space between us. That was her answer. Every question I asked was met with a wall of smoke and a vacant "I don't know" or "I don't remember." She just got higher and higher, until she was completely gone, slumped into the cushions. It was the most cowardly thing I've ever witnessed. She was deliberately incapacitating herself to avoid having a single honest conversation. It was clear I wasn't going to get any answers or closure. There was nothing left to say. "You need to be out by tomorrow," I told the shell of a person on my couch. The next day, she had a guy friend come over to help her move her stuff. I stayed in my room, listening to the sounds of my life being packed into boxes. At one point, her friend cornered me in the hallway. He had this smug look on his face as he said, "Look man, I don't know what she told you, but you guys never really made it exclusive." I just stared at him. Exclusive? She was living in my home. I was trying to help her build a life. The audacity of this guy, trying to gaslight me in my own apartment, made my blood run cold. I realized this was the story she was telling people. This was her out. The last thing to go was her black cat. I say her cat. But I was the one who fed him every morning, cleaned his litter box, and made sure he was okay. I'd bought him a nice collar with an engraved tag. And even an air tag so he'd never get lost. I loved that little guy. She stuffed him into his carrier. And as she walked to the door, I just felt hollow. She didn't look at me. She didn't say thank you for giving her a place to live when she had nowhere else to go. She didn't say sorry for betraying my trust in the most profound way imaginable. The door clicked shut. And she was gone. The only thing she left behind were a few forgotten belongings and a silence that was louder than any argument we ever had. I haven't slept in 48 hours. I tried to eat yesterday and immediately threw up. It's like my body is physically rejecting what my brain is struggling to accept. Every so often, I just start gagging out of nowhere. A stress response so intense it feels like I'm trying to cough up the last 2 months of my life. I'm sitting here in my living room, in the exact spot on the couch where she used to sit. And the silence is deafening. My brother told me on the phone. Honestly, even if she hadn't cheated, you should have left her. And he's right. I know he's right. Everyone I've talked to has said I dodged a bullet. I saw the red flags. The lack of ambition. The way she managed her money. The constant need for some kind of substance to just get through the day. I ignored all of it because I wanted to believe I could help. That there was a compatible person underneath it all. I took a chance and got burned worse than I ever thought possible. I feel so unbelievably used. It's a disgusting feeling. I wasn't a boyfriend. I was a host. She was a parasite who latched on. Took my sincerity. My home. And my financial help. And then just detached herself without a second thought to move on to the next one. She's now living with one of the guys she cheated on me with. She never said sorry. She never said thank you. I keep seeing the empty space on the floor where the cat's food bowl used to be, and it feels like a punch to the gut all over again. So now I'm here, in this empty apartment, trying to figure out what comes next. My logical brain says I need to radically accept what happened, not dwell on it, and eventually get back out there. But how do you actually do that? How do you go from feeling like a complete fool, a discarded tool, to feeling whole again? I don't think I can afford therapy right now. But I have good friends and family to lean on. For anyone who has been through something like this, what are the first steps? What does moving forward actually look like in practice? TLDR, I 25M let my girlfriend 24F of 3 months move in with me after she got evicted. Found out she cheated on me with 4 different guys while living in my house. Admitting to hooking up with 3. When confronted, she got high to avoid answering, and her friend tried to gaslight me by saying we weren't exclusive. She left without an apology and took her cat that I'd grown attached to. I ended it immediately. But I'm still in shock. Sitting in my empty place. How do I start the process of moving on from feeling so used and betrayed?